In the darkest hours, amidst the chaos of battle, it stood unbroken, the solitary beacon of hope, defiance, and resilience. Captain America's shield, not merely a weapon, but a symbol that has gone through countless battles, repelled forces of evil, yet its true story remains, much like its vibranium surface, unscratched. But even the seemingly invincible can shatter. In this video, we'll explore the shield's untold stories, its shattering, and the incredible journey towards its recreation. It's not just a story of a weapon, but the spirit it represents. In the beginning, during World War II, the Red Skull does a ritual for Hitler that brings the hammer of Skady to Earth and lands it in Antarctica. Years later, the Red Skull's daughter, Sin, with the help of Baron Zemo, finds a book with the hammer's location. At the same time, Tony Stark announces his company's plan to rebuild Asgard in Oklahoma after the events of the previous Siege storyline. Sin finds the hammer of Skady, becomes Skady, and sets the serpent free from his underwater prison. Then, 7 celestial objects fall from the sky all around the world. And so we flash forward into the midst of an intense battle. Captain America leads Black Widow and Falcon as they face the overwhelming invasion led by Skady. Meanwhile, in a faraway realm called Asgard Space, Loki employs his cunning to free Thor from his prison cell. He tricks the guards by giving them food that puts them to sleep, allowing him to carry out his plan and set Thor free. Elsewhere in Brazil, a terrifying transformation has turned Hulk into the destructive force known as Null, Breaker of Worlds. Red She-Hulk finds herself trying to protect 2 innocent children from Null's rampage. Despite her efforts, Null overpowers her and prepares to deliver a fatal blow. In a desperate attempt to reach the man she once knew, she briefly transforms back into Betty Ross, hoping to find Bruce Banner within Null. Sadly, her attempt fails, and Null readies himself to strike her down with his mighty hammer. Just as all seems lost, the heroic trio of Spider-Woman, Protector, and Miss Marvel arrive to save the day, engaging Null in a fierce battle. In New York, Reed Richards seeks the help of Ben Grimm in dealing with a mysterious hammer that crash-landed onto Yancey Street. As Ben approaches the hammer, an unexpected transformation occurs, turning him into the fearsome Angrier, Breaker of Souls. Enraged and filled with destructive power, he unleashes devastating chaos, crying out in anger. Meanwhile, Thor and Loki successfully escape from prison. Loki reveals a startling truth to Thor. Asgard has been rebuilt as a war machine, ready to launch an attack on Earth to stop the serpent. However, Loki leads Thor to a group of Asgardians who oppose Odin's plan. Odin discovers them, but Thor manages to convince his father to give him time to protect Earth. As a gesture of trust, he is given back his mighty weapon, Mjolnir. Back on the Quincarrier, Steve Rogers decides to actively join the fight instead of merely observing from the sidelines. At this stage, he is not joining the effort as Captain America because someone else carries that mantle in the character of Bucky Barnes. In the heart of Washington, D.C., Captain America valiantly continues to battle Skady, refusing to yield. Despite putting up a brave fight, he is eventually overpowered and left battered on the ground. Skady goes so far as to tear off his bionic arm and deliver a crushing blow to his chest with her hammer. Left for dead, Captain America is surrounded by Black Widow, Falcon, Shang-Chi, and Valkyrie. With his dying breath, he implores Black Widow to warn the others about the impending threat of the serpent. Thor returns to Earth and arrives in Broxton, Oklahoma, where he is met with anger from a hostile crowd. Frustrated by the confrontation, he decides to leave and flies away toward the Quincarrier. Thor arrives and enlightens them about the serpent's nature. It thrives on people's fear and gains strength from it. Moreover, he reveals that Odin plans to destroy Earth along with the serpent. Fury urges Tony and Thor to find Steve Rogers, who will once again take up the mantle of Captain America in Bucky's place. Steve joins the group and asks for an explanation of the situation. Tony briefs him about the Worthy's hammers and requests him to come up with ways to counter this threat. Steve proposes talking to the serpent. The serpent seizes the power he needs to reach his full strength, and his staff transforms into a hammer that enables him to raise his citadel. Maria, Thor, Steve, and Tony watch this through Maria's computer. They split up, with Thor heading to Antarctica to confront the serpent, Tony going to Oklahoma to speak with Odin, and Steve landing in Manhattan to join the Avengers and face Skady's forces, who have entered New York. The serpent becomes aware of Thor's presence and sends his troops to attack him. In Manhattan, Skady spots Steve and is thrilled at the chance to kill Captain America again. Tony's gesture of sacrifice catches Odin's attention, and he grants Tony an audience. Skady leaps from the rooftop and attacks Steve with her formidable hammer. The serpent reveals to Thor that he was the original king of Asgard, and Odin is his brother, making Thor his nephew. The serpent proposes an alliance to defeat Odin, but Thor refuses and engages in battle, only to be sent to New York, where he must confront Newell, Breaker of Worlds, and Angrier, Breaker of Souls. Meanwhile, Captain America leads the Avengers in a fierce confrontation against Skady. In the midst of the chaos, Tony Stark manages to secure an audience with Odin and requests permission to create new weapons in his workshop. Reluctantly, Thor delivers a powerful blow with Mjolnir, striking Angrier through the chest and incapacitating him permanently. While still engaged in a violent struggle with Newell, Franklin and Valeria Richards come across the wounded Angrier, who has regained his humanity but is in critical condition. In the midst of his own battle with Skady, the serpent makes a grand entrance, arriving on a floating dark Asgard. He proclaims that the world now belongs to him and demands everyone's submission. Joined by Skady, he faces off against the Avengers. Despite their efforts, the attempts to stop the serpent prove futile, and they are all struck by the devastating power of the serpent's hammer. Captain America hurls his shield at the serpent, but it is effortlessly destroyed. With a mighty swing of his hammer, the serpent lays waste to the surrounding area, knocking Cap unconscious. Captain America wakes up to find Spider-Man by his side, who informs him that the serpent and Skady have departed, leaving everyone injured. Cap expresses his desire to leave and be with his family. Meanwhile, Franklin disobeys his parents' orders and uses his powers to free the Thing from Angrier's control, restoring him to his normal self and healing him in the process. Thor continues to battle Newell, and with a mighty effort, he hurls Newell into orbit, watching as he falls into an unknown location. The immense strain takes a toll on Thor, and he collapses from exhaustion. The Avengers carry Thor to Asgard, and upon arriving there, they find Odin and his army poised to destroy Earth. Captain America urges Odin to heal Thor, but they are forced out, leaving Thor behind. Meanwhile, the serpent and Skady head for the World Tree for the final battle. Skady fears the prophecy that suggests the serpent's demise, but he assures her that even if he dies, she will take his place. Back in Asgard, Odin tends to Thor's injuries and offers him another chance to join him instead of siding with humans. Thor refuses, believing it's wrong to destroy one world to save another. Odin confesses that the serpent is his brother and gives Thor his old armor, along with the Odin sword, also known as Ragnarok, which he used in his battle against the serpent. Thor questions if the serpent is truly the Allfather, and Odin admits he had lied to all of Asgard by erasing his brother from their history. In Svartalfheim, Tony presents the new weapons he forged for the Avengers to Thor and Odin. Odin asks which weapon is Tony's, and Tony reveals that his weapon is his armor, but to upgrade it, he must plunge into a cauldron of Uru. Despite Odin's final offer to stand with him or the humans, Tony chooses the humans and jumps into the cauldron with the rest of the weapons. In Broxton, Captain America orders the Avengers to hold back the serpent as long as possible. He then joins the residents of Broxton at the border and informs them of Dark Asgard's approach. Cap gives them a choice to fight with him or return to their families, but if they flee, they must leave their weapons. Everyone disperses, and Cap, armed with a shotgun, prepares for the imminent battle against the Serpent and the Worthy. Outside Broxton, the Serpent, along with his Worthy and the Dual Society, gathers around the World Tree as Captain America bravely fires his bullets at them. Meanwhile, Iron Man and Thor return from Asgard, accompanied by dwarves from Svartalfheim, bearing the powerful weapons forged with the mystical metal Uru, blessed by Odin. The Avengers receive these weapons: Doctor Strange, Hawkeye, Iron Fist, Red She-Hulk, Miss Marvel, Spider-Man, Black Widow, and Wolverine, and join Cap in defending the world. The Serpent then transforms into a massive dragon, battling Thor while the Avengers take on the Worthy. Thor throws Mjolnir into the Serpent's mouth, and it bounces near Cap. With Mjolnir in hand, Cap declares that today they are all Avengers, and shouts, "Avengers, assemble!" As the intense battle continues, the Serpent threatens to end humanity, but Thor retorts that he knows nothing about humans and their capabilities. Thor ultimately fulfills the prophecy by slaying his uncle with Odin's sword Ragnarok and dies in his father's arms. Simultaneously, with the Serpent's demise, the chaos around the world begins to subside. The day after the battle, the Avengers prepare for Thor's funeral. Odin takes his brother's corpse, known as Kul, to Asgard, and in the process barring all other Asgardians. In the following days, Bucky is also buried in Arlington National Cemetery, and Iron Man receives Cap's reforged shield infused with Uru, making it stronger than ever. The Avengers stand in Manhattan, and Cap declares it a new day, dedicated to rebuilding the world and mourning the losses. Just as he receives his new and improved shield, an Asgardian portal briefly appears above Broxton, hinting at the continuation of extraordinary adventures.